Moten's sentences often proceed with similar effect, as in the indelible opening of Bobby Lee's hands. Held in the very idea of white people, in the illusion of their strength, in the fantasy of their allyship, in the poverty of their rescue, in the silliness of their melancholy, in the power of their networks, in the besotted rejection of their impossible purity, in the repeated critique of their pitiful cartoon, is that thing about waiting for vacancy to shake your hand, while the drone's drone gives air a boundary. Trenchant critique that feels headed for a ferocious conclusion suddenly swerves out to the drone's drone giving air a boundary. It bewilders and pleases me that such WTF moments in Moten's writing, and there are many, never exasperate me. Instead, I face a choice. I can pause, perhaps endlessly, and self-consciously engage the project of deciphering, or I can skip on, knowing that the sentence will still be there for me, perhaps in 5 minutes, perhaps in 5 years, available for resounding. Which brings me to the last thing I want to talk about, which is the way that Moten's work makes the activities of reading and thinking feel palpably fresh, weird, and vital. I knew, for example, when I agreed to write this piece, that I was agreeing to an impossible task, even before laying eyes on the galley. I knew there was no earthly way I could read Black and Blur in the approximately 30 days I had before the deadline. Don't misunderstand me. This isn't one of those Amazon reviews exulting in its, "I could only read the first 10 pages of this book, but I'm going to weigh in on it anyway" attitude. I read Black and Blur, by which I mean every word of it passed through my eyes and ostensibly into my brain. But one of the ontological gifts of Moten's writing is that you simply can't, or I should say, I simply can't, take in his sentences in any normative, temporal way. Their intricate design, their dense folds of linkage and reference, their insistence on evacuation and complex arrival demand rereading, across space and time, more than almost any other writing I can think of. And so, in the month or so that I've lived with Black and Blur, I've read it in the waiting room of the dermatologist's office, while watching my son at the playground, on an airplane, perched on a metal stool of a Los Angeles poke bar, in bed, in my office on lockdown, due to a phantasmagorical active shooter the day after the Vegas massacre, falling in and out of sleep from jet lag on a park bench in Stockholm and elsewhere. I remember all these places because in each one I understood something different in the writing, found myself able to hear a different tune or tone. I heard myself struggling to think, then I heard myself thinking. I felt smart, then I felt stupid. I felt in between, then I felt not in between, a la C.L.R. James and the title of Black and Blur's first chapter. In short, I felt myself reading.